Prepositions and particles. Let's look at these two notions when we find some problems with the sentences, what they are. Let's read the text. The sentences have been numbered for convenience. So number 1, soon after breakfast, Mary Ann brought in the Times. Second, Mr. Carey shared it with 2 neighbors. Third, he had it from 10 till 1 when the gardener took it over to Mr. Ellis at the Limes, with whom it remained till 7, and then it was taken to Miss Brooks at the Manor House, who, since she got it late, had the advantage of keeping it. So there are some sentences numbered we talked about. Especially you look at the italicized components constituent after breakfast in the time. So they are both seemingly prepositional constituents. So see whether they are prepositions or not, and whether they make one unit or the preposition belongs to the preceding constituent. Similarly, in summer, Mrs. Carey, when she was making jam, often asked her for a copy to cover the pots with. 5. When the vicar settled down his paper. 5b, his wife put on her bonnet and she went out to do the shopping. Right? So here again from 4 to 5c, we have sentences which have some constituent like settle down, put on, went out, right? And similarly, we have cover with. So what are type of these constituent are? Are they are these preposition or they are particles? Do they form one unit or they belong to something that follows them? For the purpose of our discussion, we here present skeleton version of the sentence 1 to 5. Mary brought in the Times after breakfast. The vicar settled down to his paper. His wife put on her bonnet and she went out. In such sentences, like the above we have talked about, the lexical verb is followed by another element which is very closely linked with the verb, like went and out. Out is very closely linked to went, and similarly on, which is very closely linked to put. So we have to see whether it is linked to the preceding constituent or to the following constituents. So in, down, out, etc. The question is, what is the status of in, down, out, etc. That is very important, which will help us in knowing whether it's a preposition or it's an particle. Are these prepositions which take a prepositional complement, as in the vicarage, for example, we have in and then we have the complement of the preposition. Do these elements belong to the verb or are they perhaps independent units? So the things to look at, whether these elements like in, out, do they belong to the verb, or do they belong to something that follows them, or are they independent? So there can be 3 possibilities. So for example, the above sentence 1 may be bracketed as follows. Mary Ann brought in the Times after breakfast. So we can see that Mary Ann is the noun phrase subject, brought in the Times, it's a verb phrase in which we have verb plus a direct object, and after breakfast it's a prepositional phrase. So there can be no doubt after the breakfast that after is related to breakfast. We'll see by moving it to different places that whether it actually relate to breakfast or it can be an independent unit. It is a genuine PP. It consists of a preposition after and its complement is newspaper. So by now we say that it is a genuine prepositional phrase. After is the preposition and newspaper is its complement. Together the preposition and the noun phrase make up one phrase which we know as prepositional phrase. After breakfast is an optional element. It's an adjunct. It can be moved to any place in the sentence or it can be removed. It does not make much difference on the semantics of the sentence. There seems to be three possible ways of bracketing this. For example, in 7a we have brought as a verb and in the time as a prepositional phrase. In 7b we have brought in as a verb and the times as a noun phrase. In 7c we have brought and in as a separate constituent which is not known and the times as a noun phrase. According to 7a, in is a preposition taking the times as its complement. According to 7b, in is somehow part of the verb itself. Brought and in seem to make a one unit, one word like properties. And 7c, in is independent of both brought and the newspaper, the times. So the three alternatives may be represented by following three diagrams. For example, we can say 8a brought and in time is a prepositional phrase. After breakfast is a prepositional phrase. In second, the time brought in is a verb and the time is a noun phrase and after breakfast is a prepositional phrase. And 8c brought is a verb, in is an unknown constituent. The time is a noun phrase and after the breakfast is a prepositional phrase. These diagrams gives us a description but do not answer our question that what actually in is, because in is still not clear whether it's part of the verb phrase or it's part of the following noun phrase. So further we'll discuss the status of in and try to pin it down.